Heyo, welcome to Niko Knows Best. I am obviously Niko Knows Best, your host, and today we are guest by a very special guest, the Impact World Champion, Alex Shelley. How you doing, Alex?
Good. How are you guys doing?
What's up,
I'm
Alex?
doing great. It's truly an honor to have you on here. I've actually been following you for a very long time, so it's cool, Mike C. We live in Orlando. We've been going to the Impact Zone since 2004. I actually did my college internship at TNA Wrestling in 2003, 2004, 2005. So I've been around you without actually knowing you for a very long time, but it's an honor for you to have us, grace us with your presence. Thank you so much.
Oh, yeah.
So honestly, you got a lot going on with your championship. You got Final Resolution on December 9th, the Motor City Machine Guns versus Josh Alexander and Zack Sabre Jr., leading to Hard to Kill in January 13th, where Impact officially becomes TNA Wrestling. What's your game plan to make sure that you keep the championship beyond Hard to Kill and into 2024?
I don't have to defend it until 2024. But honestly, I don't really have game plans. I don't really think about things too much until they're imminent. So next big match is Zack Sabre and Josh Alexander. I focus on that. Then I focus on those.
And that's obviously a big match.
That's always good to see Motor City. I'm wearing my Detroit in honor of that. Really looking forward to it. Yet a great match in Chicago against Jonathan Gresham. I mean, probably the match of the year. I mean, you guys are really going at it strong. Of course, the shell shock took him out, which was good. But when it comes to Motor City Machine Guns, what can we expect against a different style with Josh Alexander, who you took care of at Bound for Glory, and Zack Sabre Jr.? What can we expect out of that match?
So by different style, you mean Zack, right?
Yes.
Ultimately, that's what you mean.
Yes.
I think people kind of forget that I'm a pretty good technical wrestler, and I think even Zack would attest to that too. And I think Saban's kind of one of the underrated goats in that style. If you talk to people who have been around for a long time and actually wrestled him, he's an extremely good technician. For me, that is true pro wrestling. That is grappling, that is counters, that is holds, that is human chess. So I'm extremely excited to have Zack Sabre Jr. in an Impact ring.
Yes.
That's nice. Hey, I just wanted to say hello, everyone who's in the on the show watching. Welcome to Niko Knows Best, and we have the Impact World Champion Alex Shelley. Alex, I had a question about Impact, TNA, and Impact. You've been wrestling over 20 years. Where do you think it has evolved from the time you started up until now, going back into TNA at the beginning of the year?
When I started in TNA, it was in 2004, and there was a very distinct division between the heavyweights, the tag teams, and the X division. And I think if you look at pro wrestling now across the board, regardless of whether you're in a tag team, regardless of whether or not you're under 200 pounds, regardless of whether you're over 300 pounds, you look at what the blueprint was for the X division, and everybody used that blueprint going forward for the next 15 years. That style has absolutely bled into every facet of pro wrestling. Would anybody argue that?
No, not at all.
I wouldn't think so. And I think the wrestlers themselves, a lot of them are forthright with telling me that. I'm in a weird age gap because I just turned 40. So a lot of the guys that were in my generation are 5 to 6 to 7 years older. I was on the low end of it. So I still see the guys who are coming up or the guys who are in their early 30s. And everybody tells me I grew up watching the X Division. I didn't know there was pro wrestling outside of major companies, the biggest companies, until I saw TNA, and then I fell in love with it. So this is something that was really a catalyst for a lot of people coming into the industry. They wanted to do what we were doing. And my God, like, they've gone and surpassed it. I think Will Ospreay is a very good example, since we're being topical, but he's been an Impact more recently, and he's been very, very honest about being a TNA kid, being an X Division kid. And I think that's so cool, especially because he's somebody who still gets to utilize that style as much as he wants or as little as he wants, but he's one of the top guys in the world. And to hear that come out of his mouth, and I know it's true for a number of other people too, regardless of what the company they're in, is very, very endearing.
Absolutely. So speaking about TNA X Division, you know, I also grew up watching the X Division and you know all the great wrestlers, including yourself, that represented that division. One of the big controversial takes going on for Impact converting to TNA is, are they going to bring back the 6-sided ring? How do you feel about that now? And also, how did you feel about the 6-sided ring 20 years ago when you were doing it as a young buckaroo?
I feel the same way about it now as I did then, to be honest with you. And it's not a good ring. That's all there is to it. It's not a good ring. The ropes are incredibly taut. They are so tight. The way a normal ring is structured, it might have a pillar of support under the center of mass in the middle of the ring. Sometimes they don't. Many times they don't. The Impact ring, rather the TNA ring, the 6-sided ring, hexagon ring, had 2 metal pillars under each side, and it was absolutely excruciating. And I've bumped in pretty much all the major rings in the world. I've been in a WWE ring. I've been in an AEW ring. I've been in a New Japan ring. I've been in a CMLL ring. And the Impact ring, or again, sorry, the TNA ring, the 6-sided ring, is awful. I hope they never bring it back. And I understand that it looks different and it looks cool. But to me, I'm a traditionalist. I like traditional pro wrestling. That's what I grew up on. And that's what is forever going to be what made me fall in love with this sport. That ring is an abomination.
Apparently from Scott D'Amore, it's not coming back. And I agree. Keeping it more traditional is good. You've already distinguished yourselves as being so much different. As much as we love the X Division, you've got Moose coming up, you know, with Hard to Kill. And what type of style? I mean, when you're looking at, you know, the same size, now going to a bigger size, you had a great grappling match with Gresham where you guys were just going back and forth, working on his left arm. Of course, he was working on your left knee. What's kind of an approach with Moose, you know, for that match?
It's really not that dissimilar. If you're a longtime wrestling fan, you might know of a guy named Gordon Soley. And Gordon Soley was
sure.
5 points of balance, right? 2 arms, 2 legs, and a head. You take one of those away, and now you've got a Leaning Tower of Pisa. So any match I go into, something is going to give, if not multiple parts. And that's why you see me use dragon screws. That's why you see me arms. That's why you see me go after a neck. But usually I'll do more than one. So I take the same approach with anybody of any size. Usually if you get a bigger guy to lose his balance by chopping out one of his pillars of support, one of his knees, it's always a good option. But Moose is probably pound for pound the best athlete in the company. And I don't think that's a knock at anybody else because there's incredible athletes in the company, but this guy was a pro NFL player for several seasons, right? We can't forget that. I believe the statistics are as far as college players go, and the college players who play football are incredible athletes too, but it's 1.5% go pro. Think about that. And then out of the 1.5% who go pro, professional means that they do this and command a fee. That could be the practice squad. That could be NFL Europe. That could be 1 season. That could be half a season. But out of the guys who go pro, how many of them are actually going to play multiple seasons or start or be a superstar player? And that's what Moose has under his belt. So if that doesn't speak to his ability, just as an athlete, I'm not even talking about his wrestling expertise and what he's done in the business, then I don't know how to put the guy over more. So I'm excited to test myself against him.
Yeah.
Nice.
Go ahead, Jay.
Just to bounce off a little bit of what Mike was asking a tad bit. You are the Impact World Champion. Do you feel as if you get enough credit for being the world champion? And just tell us a little bit about, do you feel like there's still stuff for you to do? You know, you feel like you have to accomplish something else, or you pretty much complete with what your career has given you so far? It's kind of a two-parted question.
I care very little about any credit given to me. I focus on what I do. The way I do things does not change based on whoever gives me credit, or if somebody thinks I'm a great champion or a poor champion, or if they're indifferent. I don't care. What I care about is wrestling. So none of that matters. I'm in my own bubble, and that's probably a good thing too. Like, I focus on what I can control, nothing else. There's no point. It's wasted energy otherwise. As far as things in my career go,
and it's also a little stressful.
Is it?
Yeah, I mean, I can see, you know, sometimes being a world champ and, you know, trying to be pretty much nonstop, can be a tad bit stressful in the world of that. And to mentally kind of take yourself away from it as a champ and pursue different things, different things you want in your life. I feel like, that's a big part of, an individual success.
Actually, what's more stressful? Becoming a champion. Like grinding to get there, that process is so long and arduous. I can't
imagine.
Yeah, the grind to get to that point is harder than actually being at the top. Once you're there, if you're confident in your abilities, you carry on because you realize you got there for a reason. But my God, I worked in physical therapy for about 4 years while I was wrestling. And in 2022, I had 8 days off. You know how stressful that was compared to this year when I was fortunate enough to sign a full-time wrestling contract. And I get a lot more time to recover. So trust me, man, like it's not as stressful being champion because you just get to focus on the wrestling, right? When you have to focus on getting to that point, like just getting opportunities to contend for a championship, holy shit, it's like some new level of hell most people aren't ready for. But as far as my career goes, I think I'm somebody who tends to tick off a lot of boxes. And when I do that, I'm oftentimes looking towards the next thing. I don't know what the next thing is. And I think maybe it's just being content with where I'm at right now and doing my best with it. And the big struggle early on was, am I going to lose the belt immediately? Well, I didn't. Then it was, are you going to beat X, Y, or Z? And I beat all of them. So I'm pretty confident that what I've done has made a difference. I don't know what the next step is, but I'm happy not knowing. I'm happy taking one challenge at a time. So Zack Sabre first, December 9th, and then in Palms in Las Vegas, January 13th, Moose. That's how I look at it.
Got your hands full, no doubt about it. So you're the Impact World Champion currently. You're former X Division champion, former 3-time tag team champion. What is your proudest moment in Impact / TNA wrestling? When, 20, 30 years from now, when we're all old farts and you look back and you go, man, that moment was really special to me. What was that moment?
That's going to change by the day. Obviously, right now, as world champion, winning the world championship is going to be number one with a bullet because I don't think I was ever supposed to. I was never a guy who was necessarily favored or put in positions where he was designed to succeed for whatever reason. And that's fine. I accept that life isn't fair, right? You do the best with what you get. But for me to perpetually grind and work and work and work and work, and to have that work pay off made me feel like there's just a little bit of justice in the world.
Absolutely. I mean, it paid off in a big way for you with that title. I mean, all of us, we love Impact and we watch it. We were actually at Atlanta in June.
Summer Sizzler.
Multiple times. I mean, seeing you with the title is really a feel-good moment for Impact Wrestling. And if you know the story, like we know it, and we were down since day one, so to speak, in 2003, whenever it all started, even in Nashville, we were watching it. So like to see you from there all the way till now being the current Impact World Champion, and to me is a very special moment in the entire career of Impact and TNA.
Well, thank you. I appreciate that.
Absolutely. Cool. Mike C, take it away.
Yeah, I was going to say for years, everybody, let's face it, Motor City Machine Guns, most exciting, team, the matches that you guys had with Beer Money back in the day, everybody that you've done matches with, and seeing you this year as the champ has just been incredible. And I think people that are just getting newer fans, younger fans are seeing you as a singles competitor, saying, wow, what an incredible singles competitor. How do you envision yourself maybe next year with a balance as being the champ and then also getting with Chris and doing some MMG matches as well?
Again, I don't think about that. I don't think too far in the future. I focus on.
So Final Resolution, Hard to Kill. That's it. December and January. Okay.
You gotta love that mentality.
Yeah.
It's not like he doesn't have fans pull at Hard to Kill with
right.
Zack Sabre Jr. and freaking Josh Alexander. I mean, God.
Yeah, Final Resolution.
For life, right? Like you don't know
what
tomorrow brings, so you can plan all you want, but man, that might not come to fruition. But I do know for a fact that these matches are going to happen. So if I know for a fact it's going to happen, cool. Now I have something to wrap my head around.
And I feel like that's part of success there. You know, it's the way you approach things, the way you mentally prepare yourself.
Right.
I love that about you. And speaking of inspirations, the Alex DeLarge, that was from a movie and a book, 1984. Tell us about your name and that name and A Clockwork Orange.
So 1984 and A
Or
Clockwork Orange.
five, was it 5, 4, 6?
No. Hold on. Let's back up for a second, dude. You're talking about two different books.
Yeah. Well, The Clockwork Orange, the movie.
Yeah, Clockwork Orange is a book and a movie.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's where my name came from.
So what made you, how did that inspire you? You know, basically a psychological thriller. How did that inspire your name?
I never really thought of it as a psychological thriller, but I guess it kind of is. Honestly, it was a book I did a dissertation on in college. It was a book that captivated me in high school. I just like it.
Simply said.
Awesome. We're at right at 18 minutes. I want to make sure that I impress Ross and stay on his good side. So I really appreciate you taking I mean, honestly, this is truly when we're, wrapping up the year and they're saying, who did you interview? You're going to be right at the very top of the list of people we interviewed. So we really, truly appreciate you taking the time out of your day to interview us. We're super proud of you as Impact World Champion, and we can't wait to see what 2024 has in store for you.
Yeah,
Cool.
Thank you, Alex.
Thank you.
All right,
Thanks a lot,
everyone.
Alex.
Thank you so much for your time. We are Niko Knows Best. This is the Impact World Champion, Alex Shelley. Go watch Impact